Hey, you guys. So this is kind of a funny project of mine. I decided to take two animals that I thought were super cute and basically combine them into not one animal, but that does sound like something I would do. Just to combine them in a single composition, having like a hug fight or something. So I obviously started out with two mood boards. These are other people's artwork and photographs, not my own. So if you see them around on the internet, you'll know that they caught my eye and that I loved them. So I started out, this is in the Sketchbook Pro app for iPad, obviously. And I started out just not tracing, redrawing the two of them on different layers. And you can see I have the reference photos open. I'm not taking directly from any of them, but it's so nice to have them open. I can't emphasize how much it helps to have some reference photos nearby. So if you like to print those out, if you're working physically or digitally, just have some nearby. Then I usually go through, once I have like a really, really rough like pencil sketch in. If you have two different characters, I think it's helpful to switch colors like I did, the red for the panda and the blue for the penguin. But then once I get them all outlined in black, I don't worry so much about separating them on layers. But I won't go through like my layers practice because honestly, I don't think mine are that great. I wish I had better layer practices. So if there's somebody out there who would love to instruct all of us on how they do layers, if they have a good way that they go about it, I'd love to. I'd love to talk. Um, and yeah, don't ask me where this came from. So random. But basically, I went in. One thing that I struggle with digital as opposed to manual is I always feel like the paintings are so shallow. Like I don't get enough layers and depth. And for young artists, I honestly think that's one of the things that makes a huge difference in your art is don't be afraid to get a couple layers down. A lot of times I'll start a painting with just putting down paint and not like good paint, just start putting it down. Um, Paintings tend to have a bit of a memory, and you can tell ones that have been worked a little bit more, you can see I'm just kind of putting down colors. And although I'm not thinking a ton about light source and stuff at this point, I just know there's going to be darkening around where they're touching. Um, and the colors don't even match in a lot of aspects, and I'm not the best with color palettes either. But just getting down some color, you can see it's very lightly blocked in. They kind of bleed together, and I'll worry about cleaning that up later. Really, I just wanted to have a good base of color so that when I start to go through and refine things, it'll really make it look complete and finished. And I guess through this whole thing, like I picked animals. I'm generally not an animal drawer or artist. I don't draw animals all that often. It was a request from some people online, and they said we like to draw animals. And so I was like, you know what, that'd be great because I'm not the best at it either. I took a couple attempts before this one, and what I realized was without reference pictures, without some photographs or from drawings from other artists, it is really difficult. Just because their anatomy, like their bodies are so different from our own, it's really pretty critical that you have some kind of reference like that. So that would be my first piece of advice. That's one thing I learned while doing this, is get your reference art. And like I said, if you're working physically, just print it out on a printer. I know sometimes it's like, oh, but then I'm just gonna throw it away afterward. But believe me, for the amount that it helps, it is totally worth printing out and then throwing away that piece of paper right after you're done. But pin it up in front of you, have it nearby. You may not reference it all that often, but it is amazing. It's like night and day what it does for your drawing. Trust me on this one. So hopefully you can see this drawing took about an hour. Don't let that discourage you. Digitally, there are a lot of shortcuts you can take, and I only really do digital because it's so easy to share with you guys afterward. I love red pandas, I love penguins, and this is just kind of a mashup of that, the love for those two animals. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of what else would be useful or what I experienced while doing this one. Um, you can see, like, generally you want to work large, get large color fields, and then you can go and you can see what I'm doing here at the end is going in for some of the finer details. I was surprised the penguin's face lasted in that like really rough stroke for as long as it did. And honestly, in the end, I left it fairly sketched out. I didn't polish it too heavily because I kind of liked the personality on its face that it gave. But yeah, just going in, adding a couple shadows, a couple highlights here and there. Those are the things. It's kind of like finishing the last like 10% of a picture. It's easy to get the first like 80 to 90%, but really pushing it through to that last 10% is really where the painting starts to stand out and pop. That's where you get all your shadows and your highlights, and that's really when it starts to start looking really good. So I'm finishing up here, just cleaning up some of my stray lines. I like to leave the edges a little bit bleeding and a little bit frayed, so that's that. Here's a little bit of a Ken Burns effect at the end, just so that you can see a little bit of an up close and it'll pan across. But yeah, I hope you liked the video. If you liked it, leave likes, comments, subscribe, whatever. This is a video from the Balding Artist, and I hope to see you back.